There's a moment just before totality when the world holds its breath. The sky darkens to an eerie twilight, the air chills, and the last sliver of sunlight vanishes behind the moon, leaving only a halo of fire flickering in the blackness. A total solar eclipse is one of the most awe-inspiring sights nature has to offer, a celestial spectacle that has stopped hearts and stirred imaginations for thousands of years. From ancient civilizations who saw them as omens of divine wrath to modern-day poets who liken them to the universe winking at us, eclipses have always been more than just astronomical events. They're mirrors reflecting our deepest fears, our wildest dreams, and our unshakable connection to the cosmos. But eclipses are just the beginning. Think of the trembling excitement of spotting a comet streaking across the night sky, or the quiet wonder of watching a meteor shower paint fleeting streaks of light overhead. These cosmic events have done more than advance science. They've ignited the creative spark in artists, writers, and thinkers across the ages. When Vincent van Gogh swirled his brush to capture the starry night, when Shakespeare penned sonnets under the glow of a full moon, when ancient mythmakers wove tales of gods and heroes among the constellations, they were all answering the same silent call. The heavens have always been a muse whispering secrets to those willing to listen. So how exactly have the stars and planets shaped the stories we tell, the art we create, and the poems we cherish? That's the journey we're about to take. From the haunting beauty of eclipses in Renaissance paintings to the cosmic metaphors in modern literature, we'll trace how celestial wonders have danced through human creativity like stardust caught in a sunbeam. This isn't just a story about astronomy or art. It's about the timeless dialogue between the universe and the human soul. So let's turn our gaze upward and discover how the poetry of the cosmos has been written, not just in the sky, but in the hearts and minds of dreamers throughout history. Long before telescopes or star charts, humans looked up and saw more than just pinpricks of light. They saw stories. The night sky was humanity's first storybook, its pages filled with heroes, monsters, and lovers traced in constellations. Take Orion, the hunter, striding across the heavens with his belt of 3 bright stars. To the ancient Greeks, he was a giant felled by a scorpion's sting. To the Navajo, those same stars formed the outline of First Slim One, a celestial protector. And in the Aboriginal Dreamtime, Orion's belt became a group of young men dancing in the sky. The stars didn't just shine, they spoke, whispering tales as diverse as the cultures that revered them. Poets have always been stargazers. Walt Whitman, lying in the grass beneath an open sky, wrote of the vast similitude that binds all things, from blades of grass to distant suns. Pablo Neruda, in his Ode to the Night, called the stars a shattered storm of diamonds, turning cosmic grandeur into intimate beauty. There's something about starlight that stirs the soul, an ache of wonder, a tug of infinity. Psychologists call it the overview effect, that sudden shift in perspective when faced with the vastness of space. But artists have known it for centuries. The night sky doesn't just illuminate the darkness, it ignites the mind. And then there are the Pleiades, that tight cluster of blue stars often called the Seven Sisters. In Japan, they're Subaru, a celestial gathering. To the Maori, they're Matariki, a time of remembrance and renewal. Even the painter Vincent van Gogh couldn't resist their pull, swirling them into his starry visions like flecks of molten silver. It's as if the universe designed these constellations to be Rorschach tests for the human imagination. Every culture, every artist sees something different in their glow. But what happens when the cosmos doesn't just whisper but shouts? when a meteor shower rains fire across the sky, or a comet streaks past like a cosmic brushstroke. These moments don't just inspire, they electrify, jolting creativity into overdrive. The same stars that fueled ancient myths now guide modern dreamers, proving that the universe's poetry never fades, it only finds new voices. Solar eclipses don't just darken the sky, they reveal something primal in us. Ancient China saw them as a celestial dragon devouring the sun, while Viking myths told of sky wolves chasing it. The Aztecs believed eclipses marked moments when the sun god Meteor demanded human hearts to keep shining. These weren't just stories, they were attempts to make sense of the terrifying beauty of a world plunged into sudden night. Even today, when science can predict eclipses down to the second, that primal awe remains. There's a reason crowds still gasp when the moon's shadow sweeps over them. It's the same shiver our ancestors felt millennia ago. Edvard Munch, the artist behind the scream, captured this eerie tension in his painting The Sun. At first glance, it's a radiant orb bursting with warmth, but look closer. The sun's rays resemble spindly fingers, reaching like something alive. Art historians argue Munch was channeling his own experience of an eclipse, where light itself feels uncanny, almost predatory. It's no coincidence that Emily Dickinson, in her poem The Eclipse, described the event as nature holding her breath. Both artists and scientists have long understood, an eclipse doesn't just hide the sun, it reveals the fragility of our place in the cosmos. This duality, fear and wonder, destruction and renewal, echoes through history. In ancient Mesopotamia, priests banged drums to scare away the demons darkening the sky. In Hindu mythology, the serpent Ra, who eternally chases the sun, swallowing it only to have it slip through his throat. These tales aren't just superstition, they're metaphors for the human condition. An eclipse forces us to confront the unknown, to stand small beneath the vast machinery of the universe. That's why even modern artists, armed with telescopes and physics, still return to eclipses as symbols. They're the ultimate plot twist in nature's story, a reminder that darkness, however brief, always gives way to light. Yet eclipses aren't the only celestial events that have set creative minds ablaze. If eclipses are the universe's dramatic pause, then comets are its exclamation points, streaking across the sky like fiery brushstrokes, impossible to ignore. Where eclipses bring stillness, comets bring motion, hurtling through human imagination as harbingers of change. From the Bayeux Tapestry's depiction of Halley's comet foreshadowing a king's downfall to Renaissance painters capturing their ethereal tales, these cosmic wanderers have long been punctuation marks in the story of art. And just like eclipses, they prove one thing: when the heavens move, humanity can't help but respond, with fear, with poetry, with brushes dipped in starlight. Comets have never been subtle. Unlike the slow dance of planets or the steady glow of stars, they burst into view unexpected, untamed, trailing fire like celestial graffiti across the night sky. No wonder cultures across time have seen them as cosmic alarm bells, divine exclamation points punctuating human history. When Halley's comet blazed overhead in 1066, the Normans took it as a sign of William the Conqueror's impending victory. Half a millennium later, Shakespeare immortalized that same comet in Julius Caesar, turning it into a portent of betrayal. When beggars die, there are no comets seen. The heavens themselves blaze forth the death of princes. To the playwright, comets weren't just astronomical phenomena, they were the universe's way of underlining fate. Artists, too, have long been captivated by their brilliance. Giotto's adoration of the Magi swaps the traditional Star of Bethlehem for a streaking comet, its golden tail arcing like a divine finger pointing to the Christ child. It's a bold choice, replacing serene starlight with the wild energy of a comet, suggesting revelation isn't always gentle. Sometimes the divine arrives with a roar. Even today, that tension between beauty and disruption lingers. Science fiction writers recast comets as cosmic couriers, carrying alien life in Arthur's Sea. Clarke's rendezvous with Rama or hurtling toward Earth as agents of apocalypse in films like Deep Impact. Whether as messengers or menaces, comets refuse to be ignored. So why do these icy wanderers still set creativity ablaze? Perhaps because they embody contradiction, simultaneously timeless and fleeting, predictable yet unpredictable. We know their orbits, yet each appearance feels like a singular event. They're reminders that the universe is never static, that change can streak into view without warning. And when change comes, artists are often the first to wrestle with its meaning. Just as the Inuit carved comets into ivory talismans for protection, modern poets like Adrian Rich describe them as a knife of light splitting the dark, cutting through complacency. This legacy of awe doesn't end with comets. If they're the universe's dramatic proclamations, then meteor showers are its fleeting poetry, brief, shimmering verses written in light. Where comets announce themselves with grandeur, meteors whisper, leaving trails of wonder in their wake. From ancient stargazers who saw them as fallen stars to the romantic poets who wove them into verses about transience, these celestial sparks have always been invitations to look up, to marvel, to remember that even the smallest streak of light can ignite the imagination. Meteor showers are nature's way of teaching us to pay attention. Unlike the slow, predictable movements of planets or the steady glow of constellations, these streaks of light appear without warning. Blink, and you might miss them. It's no surprise they've become symbols of life's fleeting beauty, moments of brilliance that vanish as quickly as they arrive. The Japanese haiku master Matsuo Basho captured this perfectly in just 17 syllables. A sudden shower and stars tumble through the pines. In a few spare words, he bottled the magic of a shooting star, unexpected, transient, yet somehow eternal in its impact. This theme of transience echoes through centuries of art and literature. The ancient Greeks saw meteors as sparks flung from the chariot wheels of the sun god Helios, brief but dazzling. In the tale of Genji, written over 1,000 years ago, Lady Murasaki used falling stars as metaphors for love's fragility, bright, passionate, but doomed to fade. Even modern writers can't resist their pull. In Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore, a meteor shower becomes a backdrop for characters grappling with loss and longing, their lives as temporary as the light streaking overhead. But it's not just writers who have been spellbound. Contemporary artists have turned meteor showers into immersive experiences. Take Japanese installation artist Yayoi Kusama, whose infinity-mirrored rooms fill spaces with countless flickering lights, recreating the sensation of standing beneath a meteor storm. Or British sculptor Conrad Shawcross, whose steel, exploded paradigm sculptures mimic the chaotic beauty of shooting stars frozen in mid-flight. These works don't just depict meteors, they replicate the awe they inspire, reminding us that art, like a meteor's glow, is a momentary spark against the dark. What makes these celestial sparks so powerful is their duality. They're both destructive and dazzling cosmic debris burning up in our atmosphere, yet transforming into something breathtaking. The same friction that annihilates them creates their light. Poets have long seized on this paradox. Emily Dickinson called them the fire that never dies, while Rainer Maria Rilke wrote of the brief, brave blaze of a thing that was already ash. Even science acknowledges their poetic irony. The very act of disintegration produces their beauty. And then there's the moon, steadfast where meteors are fleeting, a constant companion in the night sky. If meteor showers are the universe's fireworks, the moon is its lantern, casting a softer, enduring light that has guided dreamers for millennia. From the lunar myths of the Inuit, who saw its craters as scars from a cosmic battle, to the moonlit sonnets of Pablo Neruda, who called it a white horse slash made of silence, its pull on creativity is as relentless as its gravity. While meteors teach us to cherish the ephemeral, the moon reminds us of the eternal, the stories that outlast civilizations, the art that spans generations. This dance between transience and permanence is at the heart of celestial inspiration. Meteor showers blaze and vanish, but their afterglow lingers in the poems, paintings, and installations they ignite. They're proof that beauty doesn't need to last to matter sometimes. It's the briefest lights that leave the deepest marks. The moon has always been more than a rock in the sky. It's a mirror, reflecting back our deepest emotions. Ancient civilizations wove it into their myths as a deity. The Egyptians had Thoth, the god of wisdom with a lunar crescent on his head, while the Chinese worshipped Chang, the moon goddess whose love story still echoes during the Mid-Autumn Festival. These myths weren't just stories, they were ways to explain the moon's hypnotic pull, its silent power over tides, seasons, and human hearts. Even today, when we gaze at its cratered face, we're joining a chain of wonder stretching back thousands of years. Poets have long been moonstruck. Take Lai Bai, the Tang dynasty master, who wrote, "I lift my head to gaze at the bright moon, then bow it, thinking of home." In just a few lines, he captures the moon's duality. Its light connects us across distances, yet its distance reminds us of loneliness. Centuries later, Percy Bysshe Shelley would echo this in To the Moon, calling it a dying lady, pale and wan, a symbol of fleeting beauty and melancholy. The moon doesn't just illuminate the night, it illuminates the human condition, revealing our yearning, our solitude, our quiet hopes. Artists, too, have chased its glow. Van Gogh's Starry Night wouldn't pulse with the same energy without that swirling, radiant moon. It's the heartbeat of the painting, pulling the sky into its whirlpool of light. But contrast that with Hokusai's moon over the sea at Sata Point, where the moon hangs still and serene, a silent witness to the crashing waves below. One is chaos, the other calm, yet both prove the moon's versatility as a muse. It can embody turmoil or tranquility, depending on the hand that paints it. And then there's music. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata wasn't named by the composer, but the title stuck because it fits. Those somber, rippling notes feel like moonlight spilling across a darkened room. Centuries later, Frank Sinatra would croon, "Fly Me to the Moon," turning our celestial neighbor into a metaphor for romantic escape. From classical to jazz, the moon's phases have structured rhythms and lyrics, its waxing and waning echoing the cadence of human emotion. But why does the moon resonate so deeply? Perhaps because it's our closest cosmic companion, forever present yet always changing. Its phases structure time, planting and harvesting in agrarian societies, marking Ramadan or Mid-Autumn festivals. In folklore, the full moon transforms werewolves. In modern sci-fi, it's a stepping stone to Mars or the site of lunar colonies. The moon is a blank canvas, and we've spent millennia projecting our dreams onto it. Now consider this. If the moon is a steady companion, then planetary alignments are the universe's rare performances, celestial ballets where planets gather in formations that captivate astronomers and artists alike. These moments don't just inspire awe, they rewrite history, guiding explorers and sparking revolutions in thought. From the Babylonians tracking Venus to Kepler mapping Mars's dance, alignments have been both navigational tools and creative sparks. So what happens when the planets themselves seem to conspire? That's where our journey turns next. Planetary alignments are the universe's grand symphonies, rare moments when planets gather in celestial harmony, their orbits briefly syncing like dancers in a cosmic ballet. To Renaissance artists, these conjunctions weren't just astronomical events. They were divine signatures, messages written in the stars. Look closely at Botticelli's The Birth of Venus, and you'll find more than just a goddess rising from the sea. The planets are arranged in precise alignment above her, mirroring an actual conjunction that occurred in 1484. For Botticelli, this wasn't mere decoration. It was a statement. Beauty, love, and cosmic order were intertwined, all governed by the same celestial rhythms. Johannes Kepler, the father of planetary motion, saw poetry in these alignments too. His laws didn't just revolutionize science, they echoed the Renaissance obsession with harmony. When he discovered that planets moved in ellipses, not perfect circles, it shattered ancient beliefs. Yet artists like Albrecht Dürer embraced this chaos, etching the heavens with newfound realism. In the celestial map, Dürer depicted the planets not as static symbols but as dynamic bodies, their paths crossing like threads in a grand tapestry. Kepler's math became art's muse, proving that even the universe's imperfections could inspire beauty. Fast forward to today, and planetary motion still captivates creators, though now through pixels rather than paint. Digital artists like Scott Draves transform Kepler's equations into hypnotic animations where planets swirl in fractal dances, their orbits rendered as luminous trails. NASA Visions of the Future posters reimagine alignments as tourist destinations, with Saturn's rings as a celestial metro line. These works bridge science and art, showing that cosmic harmony isn't just observed, it's felt. Literature, too, has wrestled with this tension between order and chaos. Dante's Paradiso envisioned the planets as tiers of divine light, each sphere a step closer to heaven. Modern sci-fi flips the script. In The Three-Body Problem, Liu Cixin turns planetary alignments into a cosmic game of survival, where celestial mechanics dictate doom. Whether as divine order or existential gamble, these stories reveal a truth. When planets align, so do our deepest metaphors for fate, for balance, for the fragile dance of existence. And what of the spaces between these wandering stars? Beyond the orderly orbits and predictable conjunctions lie nebulae, vast, swirling clouds where stars are born and die in explosions of color. If planetary alignments are the universe's symphonies, then nebulae are its jazz, improvisational, chaotic, and breathtakingly beautiful. Just as the Renaissance sought meaning in the planet's paths, modern artists lose themselves in these cosmic storms, finding inspiration in their untamed light. Nebulae are where the cosmos paints with fire. These vast clouds of dust and gas, stellar nurseries where stars are born and graveyards where they die, have transfixed artists and poets for centuries, long before Hubble's lens brought their colors into sharp focus. Take the Whirlpool Galaxy, its spiral arms swirling like a cosmic fingerprint. It's uncanny how closely its structure echoes Van Gogh's Starry Night, as if the artist glimpsed the universe's blueprint in a moment of prophetic frenzy. Van Gogh didn't need a telescope to capture the heavens' turbulence. He felt it in his bones, translating celestial chaos into thick, hypnotic brushstrokes. Hubble's images, with their sapphire blues and molten golds, only confirmed what visionaries already knew. The sky isn't static, it's alive, pulsing with the same energy that drives human creativity. Poets have long wrestled with this kinship between the cosmic and the emotional. Alfred, Lord Tennyson, gazing at the Orion Nebula through an early telescope, described it as a fiery surge, the furnace of creation, where stars were forged like myths in the human mind. Centuries later, Tracy K. Smith, former U.S. Poet Laureate, would write, "My God, it's full of stars," weaving Hubble's images into verses about grief and wonder. For these writers, nebulae aren't just distant clouds, they're mirrors. The pillars of creation, those towering columns of gas where new stars ignite, become metaphors for resilience, destruction, and birth intertwined. How fitting that science names these places with poetic grandeur: the Butterfly Nebula, the ghost of Jupiter, the Eye of God. The universe, it seems, speaks in metaphor. Science fiction, too, has leaned into nebulae's mystique. Frank Herbert's Dune imagines the spice melange as a cosmic dust that expands consciousness, echoing the way real stellar nurseries seed planets with the elements of life. Star Trek turned nebulae into narrative labyrinths, veils hiding alien civilizations or traps for unwary starships. Even Interstellar's Gargantua, a black hole ringed by fiery debris, owes its visual drama to Hubble's snapshots of chaos and light. These stories recognize something primal. Nebulae are the universe's canvases, and their sheer scale, spanning light years, challenges us to reckon with our smallness. Yet, paradoxically, they also remind us that we're made of the same stardust, that creativity and cosmos share a common source. Which brings us to the heart of the mystery. Why does the infinite stir something so intimate in us? Gaze too long at the Carina Nebula's kaleidoscopic hues, and you might feel a pang of longing or vertigo or a strange comfort. Psychologists call this the overview effect, but artists have a simpler term: awe. It's the same shudder we feel watching an aurora's emerald ribbons dance across the polar sky, another celestial phenomenon that blurs the line between science and soul. Like nebulae, auroras are collisions, solar winds meeting Earth's atmosphere, particles igniting into light. And just as nebulae have inspired abstract art, auroras have sparked folklore, music, and ritual, from Sami drum songs to Disney's Frozen, reimagining them as sentient spirits. The thread connecting them is undeniable. Whether through the slow burn of starlight or the fleeting flash of an aurora, the cosmos speaks and humanity answers, not with equations alone, but with paint, verse, and the quiet gasp of recognition. Auroras don't just dance across the sky, they dance through human imagination. To the Norse, they were the armor of the Valkyries, shimmering as they carried fallen warriors to Valhalla. The Sami people of Scandinavia believed them to be the sparks from a celestial fox's tail, whipping through the snow. And for the Inuit, the northern lights were the spirits of ancestors playing ball with a walrus skull, their laughter crackling in the frigid air. These weren't just explanations for a natural phenomenon. They were stories woven into the fabric of survival, turning the terrifying vastness of the Arctic night into something familiar, even sacred. Filmmakers have long been drawn to auroras for their otherworldly power. In Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life, the aurora borealis becomes a visual hymn, a bridge between the earthly and the divine, its rippling greens and purples mirroring the film's themes of creation and loss. Malick doesn't just show the lights, he lets them breathe, pulse, as if the sky itself is alive. Compare that to The Golden Compass, where the auroras are a gateway to parallel worlds, or Balto, the animated adventure that casts them as a guiding force for a lost sled dog. Each interpretation taps into the same primal awe, proving that auroras aren't just scenery, they're storytelling devices, as versatile as they are mesmerizing. Modern artists have taken this allure even further. Icelandic-Danish artist Olafur Eliasson recreates the aurora's magic in his room for one-color installations, flooding spaces with monochromatic light that alters perception, much like the real phenomenon warps the night sky. Meanwhile, Japanese Team Lab's digital exhibitions transform viewers into walking constellations, their movements trailing streaks of light reminiscent of the northern lights. These works don't just imitate nature, they amplify its emotional pull, turning spectators into participants in a cosmic dance. But what makes auroras so universally captivating? Science tells us they're collisions, solar particles slamming into Earth's atmosphere, painting the sky with oxygen's emerald glow and nitrogen's violet hues. Yet spirituality whispers something else, that they're reminders of our connection to something greater. The Gwich'in people of Alaska call them the sky's heartbeat, while Scottish folklore warns their celestial battles, they're flickering a sign of restless energy. This duality, scientific and sacred, is precisely what makes auroras endure. They're proof that wonder doesn't require choosing between logic and legend. Sometimes the most profound truths live in the space between. Now consider how another celestial event, the eclipse, has echoed through music. Just as auroras have scored films, eclipses have inspired symphonies. Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon isn't just named after lunar phases. Its haunting instrumentals mirror the eerie stillness of totality. Classical composer Giuseppe Verdi embedded an eclipse into his Requiem, the Dies Irae section plunging into darkness with crashing chords, as if the sun itself were vanishing. Even jazz legend Sun Ra wove eclipses into his cosmic mythology, claiming they were portals to other dimensions. Whether in rock, opera, or experimental jazz, eclipses become musical motifs, moments of tension, transformation, and ultimately, revelation. Eclipses don't just silence the world, they compose it. When Gustav Holst penned Mars, the bringer of war, for his orchestral suite The Planets, he didn't just write music, he channeled celestial tension. Pounding rhythms and dissonant brass mimic the ominous creep of a lunar eclipse, where shadows swallow light in a slow, inevitable march. Holst understood what scientists and poets know: eclipses aren't just seen. They're felt, a visceral shift that demands a soundtrack. Centuries earlier, Renaissance composer William Byrd embedded eclipses into his Mass for Four Voices, using overlapping melodies to recreate the moon's passage across the sun, voices eclipsing one another in sacred harmony. Even then, music was reaching for the stars, but eclipses inspire more than grandeur, they birth intimacy. In Total Eclipse of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler turned an astronomical event into a power ballad about love's sudden darkness. "Turn around, bright eyes," she pleads, as if addressing the sun itself. The song's crescendo mirrors totality's climax, where desperation gives way to fleeting radiance. Meanwhile, in Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden's Chris Cornell wove solar imagery into grunge, his haunting vocals sliding between light and shadow like the sun's corona peeking through the moon's silhouette. These artists grasped the eclipse's duality, destruction and rebirth, absence and presence, all in a single celestial breath. Some musicians don't just sing about eclipses, they perform beneath them. When the moon's shadow swept across America in 2017, the indie band The Flaming Lips staged a concert in the path of totality. As darkness fell, they played "Do You Realize?" Their psychedelic harmonies blending with the crowd's collective gasp. Frontman Wayne Coyne later described the experience as like hearing color, a synesthetic moment where music and cosmos blurred. Jazz legend Sun Ra took this further, claiming eclipses opened portals to other dimensions. His Cosmic Tones for Mental Therapy album, recorded during a partial eclipse, buzzes with otherworldly theremin and erratic percussion, as if the music itself was warped by celestial gravity. The interplay of light and sound reaches its peak in Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. The album's heartbeat rhythms and oscillating synths don't just reference lunar phases, they replicate the eclipse's eerie liminality. All that you touch, all that you see / all that you taste, all you feel, whispers, breathe, echoing the surreal sensation of standing in the moon's shadow. Producer Alan Parsons even used tape loops and panning effects to mimic the disorientation of totality, where time seems to stutter. It's no accident that the album's prism cover art refracts light like a diamond ring eclipse, music and cosmos as one. So can sound truly capture the heavens, maybe not literally, but as composer John Cage proved with his silent piece 433, absence can be its own melody. An eclipse is nature's 433, a pause where the universe holds its breath, and in that silence we hear something deeper. Whether through Holst's thunderous planets or Tyler's wrenching balladry, music bends toward the cosmic, not to explain it, but to echo its mystery. This celestial dialogue didn't start with telescopes. It began with stargazers who saw the planets as gods, their movements dictating fate and art alike. From Babylonian astrologers to Picasso's zodiac sketches, astrology's pull on creativity is as old as the stars themselves. But how did ancient sky watching shape modern masterpieces? That's where our journey turns next. Astrology didn't just predict the future, it painted it. Long before telescopes split the night sky into constellations, civilizations from Babylon to Byzantium saw the zodiac as a celestial storybook, its 12 signs etched into temple walls and royal seals. Medieval monks labored over illuminated manuscripts like the Tres Riches Hures du Duc de Berry, where each month's labor was framed by its corresponding zodiac symbol, Virgo holding sheaves of wheat for harvest season, Aquarius pouring celestial waters over winter's frost. These weren't just decorative borders, they were cosmic calendars aligning human toil with the rhythm of the stars. Even science bowed to the zodiac's pull. Galileo cast horoscopes for his Medici patrons, while Kepler grudgingly admitted astrology funded his planetary research. The heavens weren't just observed, they were collaborators shaping art's very purpose. Renaissance artists took this further, turning astrology into architecture. Walk into Venice's Doge's Palace, and your gaze lifts to a ceiling where the zodiac wheels in golden splendor, a reminder that even earthly power orbited divine order. Raphael's Astronomy fresco in the Vatican personifies the stars as a muse, her robe embroidered with constellations, her hand resting on a celestial globe. But it was Dali who dragged astrology into the modern era, splicing cosmic motifs into surrealism. His Madonna of Port Ligat floats beneath a cracked eggshell sky, the Christ child cradled within a dodecahedron, a nod to Plato's belief that the shape governed the zodiac. For Dali, astrology wasn't superstition. It was a skeleton key to the subconscious, where melting clocks and lobster telephones obeyed unseen stellar forces. Poets, too, have long whispered to the zodiac. W.B. Yeats didn't just write horoscopes, he lived by them, structuring his esoteric a vision around lunar phases that dictated human personalities. In the Song of Wandering Aengus, his protagonist chases a glimmering girl with apple blossoms in her hair, a Piscean vision of elusive beauty shimmering like starlight on water. Contrast this with Sylvia Plath's Ariel, where the zodiac becomes a cage. The stars are pins slash in the black veil of the sky. Her Scorpio intensity transforms constellations from guides into instruments of piercing clarity, laid bare like the lines of a palm. Yet for every artist who embraced astrology, a skeptic scoffed. Leonardo da Vinci dismissed horoscopes as empty fantasies, while Mark Twain quipped, "I was born with Halley's Comet and expect to go out with it." Modern science relegates astrology to the pseudoscience shelf, yet its grip on pop culture tightens. Taylor Swift's name drops her Capricorn moon in lyrics, while fashion runways strut with zodiac motifs, from Gucci's serpentine Gemini prints to Dior's haute couture tarot collection. Even NASA, a recategorization of zodiac constellations in 2016 sparked outrage, proving how deeply these celestial symbols resonate. Perhaps astrology endures because it mirrors art's own alchemy, transforming randomness into meaning. A birth chart is no different than a sonnet. Both impose order on chaos, finding patterns where none seem to exist. And just as the stars once guided sailors, they still steer creatives, whether as muse or metaphor. Which raises a question: if astrology bridges earth and sky, what happens when literature builds its own cosmos? From Dante's Paradiso to the quantum poetry of Margaret Atwood, writers have long mapped the heavens not with telescopes, but with words, crafting universes where galaxies hum and black holes whisper secrets. The zodiac may be art's oldest collaborator, but the dance between stars and stories is far from over. Dante didn't just write about hell, he mapped the heavens. In the Divine Comedy, his vision of paradise wasn't some vague, golden haze. It was a meticulously structured cosmos, with 9 concentric spheres revolving around God like petals on a celestial flower. Each tier had its own physics, its own music, its own divine logic. When Dante ascended through these spinning realms, he wasn't just describing medieval theology, he was channeling the astronomy of his time, blending Ptolemy's geocentric model with poetic rapture. For him, the universe wasn't cold or empty. It was a living, breathing hymn where love moved the stars. Centuries before telescopes, literature was already wrestling with the cosmos, not as distant specks of light, but as mirrors of the human soul. Fast forward to the space age, and the dance between stars and stories only grew richer. Carl Sagan's Contact didn't just imagine alien life. It grounded its wonder in real science, from the mathematics of prime numbers to the eerie silence of the cosmos. When protagonist Ellie Arroway plunges through a wormhole, Sagan paints the journey with physicist Kip Thorne's equations, bending relativity into prose. Yet for all its scientific rigor, the novel's heart lies in its closing line. The universe was made on purpose. Here's the paradox: the more we learn about cosmic chaos, the more literature insists on finding meaning in it. Contemporary fiction takes this even further, turning cosmic phenomena into emotional shorthand. In Anthony Doerr's Cloud Cuckoo Land, a black hole isn't just a gravitational trap, it's a metaphor for grief, swallowing light and time with the same inexorable pull as loss. Emily St. John Mandel's Station 11 uses a fictional flu pandemic to ask what art would survive in a world stripped of satellites and electricity, where the night sky, no longer drowned out by city lights, becomes both solace and oracle. These writers aren't just borrowing astronomy's vocabulary, they're proving that the universe's most violent forces, collapsing stars, expanding voids, echo our quietest human tremors. Science fiction, meanwhile, walks a tightrope between fact and fantasy. Andy Weir's The Martian reads like a NASA manual, its protagonist growing potatoes on Mars with meticulous chemistry. Yet for every equation, there's a moment of sheer poetry, like Watney's realization that his survival hinges on basic human stubbornness. Contrast that with China Miéville's Embassy Town, where black holes become linguistic puzzles, their event horizons warping not just space but language itself. Both approaches share a truth: the best sci-fi doesn't just explain the cosmos, it makes it felt. But what happens when writers take liberties? When Mary Oliver calls the moon a white cheese wheel, or Ray Bradbury describes Mars as a cinnamon hearth, they're not betraying science, they're expanding its emotional palette. The poet Adrian Rich once wrote that the universe is not a question but a gaze. Literature's job isn't to replicate star charts, it's to remind us that those charts are stitched with stories. The pillars of creation aren't just gas clouds, they're the bones of a cosmic cathedral. A supernova isn't just an explosion, it's the universe's way of etching its name in light. This alchemy turning data into dreams reaches its peak in Interstellar. Jonathan Nolan's script, vetted by Thorne himself, bends time like a rubber band, yet its most haunting moment isn't the black hole's physics, it's Cooper, trapped in the Tesseract, screaming at his past self to stay. Here, relativity becomes a metaphor for parenthood, for love stretched across dimensions. The film's climax doesn't hinge on understanding fifth-dimensional space. It hinges on a father's hand letting go of his daughters. So how does literature humanize the cosmos? By giving it a heartbeat. Whether through Dante's divine spheres or the quantum poetry of Interstellar, writers have always known the stars aren't just objects. They're witnesses, collaborators, silent partners in the stories we tell to make sense of our small, bright lives. And just as literature borrows from the heavens, architecture too has reached skyward, not with words, but with stone and steel, crafting buildings that mirror the universe's grandeur. From the celestial alignments of ancient temples to the planetarium's domed horizons, our structures have always been love letters to the stars. From the moment humans first looked up, we've tried to bring the heavens down to earth, not just in stories or paintings, but in stone and steel. Take Antoni Gaudi's Sagrada Familia, that towering basilica in Barcelona where columns stretch like ancient trees branching into a vaulted ceiling studded with star-like lights. Gaudi didn't just build a church, he sculpted a forest of stone, its pillars twisting toward the apse like cosmic rays converging at infinity. The stars are the fingerprints of God, he once said, and his design proves it. Every arch, every spiral, echoing the patterns of galaxies and spiderwebs, as if the universe itself had sketched the blueprints. But Gaudi wasn't alone in his celestial obsession. Step inside the Hayden Planetarium in New York, and you'll find yourself cradled inside a glowing sphere, suspended in a web of staircases that seem to float without support. Architect James Polshek didn't just house a telescope, he recreated the feeling of drifting through space, where walls dissolve into darkness and the only light comes from the projected cosmos above. Or consider the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile, its dishes arranged like a constellation of mechanical flowers, their silver petals tuned to the whispers of distant stars. These aren't just buildings, they're portals, collapsing the distance between our world and the cosmic unknown. Futurists take this even further. In the 1960s, artist and architect Buckminster Fuller proposed geodesic domes for lunar colonies, their triangular panels mirroring the molecular structures of crystals, nature's own architecture. Today, firms like BIG and Foster plus partners draft concepts for Mars habitats, their designs blending practicality with poetry. Pressurized glass biospheres where settlers could tend gardens under the pinkish glow of an alien sunset. Meanwhile, Zaha Hadid's swooping, fluid structures like the Heydar Aliyev Center in Baku seem ripped from the fabric of spacetime itself, their curves echoing the gravitational warps around black holes. Light is the secret ingredient in this cosmic alchemy. The Pantheon in Rome, with its oculus open to the sky, turns sunlight into a moving spotlight that sweeps across the marble floor like a celestial clock. In Abu Dhabi, the Louvre's dome, woven from 8,000 geometric stars, scatters daylight into a rain of light, dappling visitors with constellations. Architects have long known what painters like Turner understood. Light isn't just illumination, it's emotion. Whether it's the ethereal glow of Tadao Ando's concrete chapels or the laser-cut perforations in Thomas Heatherwick's vessel, casting starry shadows on New York's High Line, these designs remind us that every beam, every shadow, is a conversation with the cosmos. Geometry bridges the earthly and the eternal. Islamic architects tiled mosques with tessellating stars, their infinite repeats symbolizing divinity's boundlessness. The pyramids of Giza align with Orion's belt, their slopes angled to cradle the setting sun. Even Frank Lloyd Wright's Guggenheim Museum, with its spiraling ramp, unwinds like the Milky Way, a galaxy you can walk through. These shapes aren't arbitrary, they're a language. The Fibonacci sequence in a nautilus shell, the fractal branching of a tree, the hexagonal storm on Saturn's pole. Architecture whispers back to these patterns, grounding us in a universe where order and chaos dance. And at the heart of it all, telescopes, the ultimate intermediaries between art and astronomy. The Hale telescope at Palomar didn't just revolutionize science. Its Art Deco dome, gleaming like a polished moon rock, became an icon of mid-century optimism. The James Webb Space Telescope, with its golden hexagons, looks less like a machine and more like a celestial lotus blooming in the void. Every time an artist like Vija Selmans painstakingly pencils the Whirlpool galaxy from telescope photos, or a composer like Terry Riley translates radio waves from Jupiter into symphonies, they're continuing humanity's oldest collaboration, turning cosmic data into something that stirs the soul. Perhaps that's why we keep building upward. From ziggurats to space elevators, our structures aren't just shelters, they're outstretched hands, reaching for the stars. Not to conquer them, but to converse, to whisper back across the light years that we're here, that we're listening. Galileo didn't just point his telescope at the moon. He cracked open a door to the universe, and artists rushed through. His sketches from 1609, rough as they were, shattered centuries of belief. Before him, the moon was a perfect celestial orb, smooth as a pearl. After him, a craggy, shadowed landscape, pocked with craters and ridges, real, tangible, flawed. Suddenly, painters like Ludovico Sigoli could dare to depict the moon as it truly was, not as dogma dictated. In his assumption of the Virgin fresco, Sigoli's lunar sphere is unmistakably Galilean, its scars and valleys rendered with startling accuracy. Science had handed art a new lexicon, and creativity ran wild with it. Fast forward to today, and telescopes have become brushes in their own right. Astrophotographers like Babak Tafreshi don't just capture the cosmos, they compose it. His Celestial Shadows series frames the Milky Way arching over ancient Persepolis, blending human history with celestial wonder. Meanwhile, the Hubble Space Telescope's images, pillars of gas glowing like stained glass, nebulae swirling like Van Gogh's brushstrokes, are colorized by artists who translate raw data into visual symphonies. The hues might be interpretive, but the awe is real. This isn't just photography, it's alchemy, turning photons into poetry. Poets have long understood that stargazing isn't passive, it's an act of creation. When Ada Limon writes, "The telescope is a kind of time machine showing us not what is, but what was," she's echoing every astronomer who's ever squinted at ancient light. Or take Tracy K. Smith's My God, It's Full of Stars, where she describes the Hubble Deep Field as a night sky stitched with question marks. For these writers, the telescope isn't just a tool, it's a collaborator bending time and space into verse. Collaboration between artists and astronomers has birthed projects that blur boundaries. The Galileo's Muse initiative pairs painters with researchers to reimagine cosmic phenomena, like rendering black holes in watercolor or supernova in blown glass. At MIT, the Cosmic Ray project transforms particle detections into soundscapes, where muons hitting sensors become percussion in an ever-evolving symphony. Even NASA Artist in Residence program invites creators to interpret missions, like Laurie Anderson composing a requiem for the Mars rover Opportunity's final transmission. So how has telescopic vision reshaped creativity? by collapsing distance not just between stars and Earth, but between observation and imagination. Every time an artist traces Saturn's rings or a poet wrestles with the Andromeda galaxy's light, they're participating in a dialogue that began when Galileo first adjusted his lens. The telescope didn't just expand our view of the cosmos, it expanded our capacity to dream. Now, imagine taking that wonder and multiplying it by thousands. Cosmic festivals, where communities gather under meteor showers, eclipses, or auroras, turn solitary stargazing into collective celebration. From Japan's star viewing Hoshizora night to Norway's Northern Lights rituals, these events remind us that the sky's beauty is best shared. Whether through telescope lenses or naked eyes, humanity keeps finding new ways to marvel together at the universe's grand performance. Cosmic festivals turn the sky into a shared canvas where art and astronomy collide in bursts of communal wonder. Take Japan's Tanabata Festival, where streets glow with bamboo branches draped in handwritten wishes, each slip of paper fluttering like a star. The tradition traces back to a celestial love story, Orion, the weaving princess, and Hikoboshi, the cowherd, separated by the Milky Way and allowed to meet just once a year on the 7th day of the 7th month. Today, their legend lives not just in folklore but in sprawling paper installations that transform cities into galaxies of light. In Sendai, thousands of colorful streamers cascade from towering bamboo frames, mimicking the river of stars above. It's a reminder that the heavens aren't just observed, they're felt, woven into the fabric of human longing and celebration. Half a world away, Nevada's Burning Man reimagines the cosmos through fire and steel. Every year, the desert becomes a playground for cosmic-themed art. Towering sculptures of eclipsed suns, geodesic domes pulsating with nebula-like projections, and mutant vehicles disguised as retro-futuristic rockets. One standout, the Temple of the Stars, was a labyrinth of laser-cut constellations where burners traced their hands along etched zodiac signs, leaving behind tokens of grief and hope. Another year, Empyrean, a colossal lotus with petals that opened at night to reveal a star map, doubled as a communal altar. These installations aren't just eye candy, they're rituals without dogma, spaces where strangers become stargazers together, united by dust and wonder. Solstices, too, have long been creative catalysts. At England's Stonehenge, thousands gather at dawn on the summer solstice, their faces turned toward the rising sun as it aligns with the ancient stones. Modern druids chant, dancers spiral, and photographers capture the golden light slicing through the trilithons, a collaboration across millennia. In Peru, Inti Raymi reenacts the Inca sun god's winter solstice return with gold-costumed processions and sacrificial offerings now symbolic. Even Iceland's secret solstice festival merges music with midnight sun, hosting concerts inside glaciers or lava tubes, where the eternal daylight feels like time itself has paused. These celebrations don't just mark an astronomical event, they embody it, turning celestial mechanics into shared sensory experiences. What ties these festivals together? The alchemy of communal art, where collective creativity bridges the gap between cosmic vastness and human intimacy. When a crowd in Marrakech gathers to watch the Perseid meteor shower from a rooftop draped in Berber textiles, or when Balinese dancers perform the kekak under a full moon, their movements mirroring the planet's orbits, they're participating in something primal. Art becomes a vessel carrying the awe of the cosmos into the heartbeat of a community. Yet for all its beauty, cosmic inspiration has a darker muse. Just as festivals celebrate light, artists and writers have long been drawn to the universe's most enigmatic void, the black hole. From the event horizon's inexorable pull to the spacetime warps predicted by Einstein, these gravitational monsters embody the sublime, terrifying, and mesmerizing in equal measure. If meteor showers are the sky's fireworks, black holes are its haunted houses, inviting us to stare into the abyss and see what stares back. Consider how painters like Chesley Bonestell rendered black holes in the 1950s, swirling vortices of doom, their accretion disks glowing like demonic halos. Fast forward to 2019, and the first actual image of a black hole, captured by the Event Horizon Telescope, looked eerily similar. Science fiction, too, has weaponized their mystery. In Interstellar, Gargantua's watery Event Horizon becomes a metaphor for grief's inescapable tide, while Event Horizon 1997 reimagines the phenomenon as a literal Hellmouth. Even poets like Derek Walcott liken black holes to God's blind eye, where light and meaning vanish. This duality, creation and destruction, is what makes cosmic festivals and cosmic horrors two sides of the same coin. One gathers people under the stars to celebrate connection, the other isolates, forcing us to confront the void. Together, they remind us that the universe isn't just a backdrop for human drama, it's an active participant, shaping our stories, our art, and our collective imagination. Black holes are where the universe stops playing by the rules, and artists have always been drawn to that rebellion. Long before the Event Horizon Telescope captured that first blurry orange ring in 2019, painters were wrestling with the idea of cosmic voids. Take Joseph Mallord William Turner's Light and Color, a swirling vortex of yellows and reds that seems to swallow the canvas whole. Painted in 1843, it predates Einstein's relativity by decades, yet it pulses with the same chaotic energy as a black hole's accretion disk. Turner didn't know the physics, but he understood the emotional weight of a force that devours light itself. Modern artists, armed with Hubble's images and quantum theories, take this further. Icelandic painter Rory's Event Horizon series uses shattered glass and mirrored shards to recreate the distortion of spacetime, each crack radiating from a central void like gravity-bending starlight. Meanwhile, digital artist Rafik Anadol feeds NAS a black hole data into AI algorithms, generating immersive projections where viewers stand inside a rippling, inky abyss, a sensory plunge into the unfathomable. These works don't just depict black holes, they simulate the vertigo of confronting the infinite. Poets, too, have turned black holes into existential shorthand. In Singularity, Marie Howe imagines the moment before the Big Bang as a cosmic inhale. What happened before the beginning, / the black holes / one thought, I am. For Howe, the void isn't empty, it's pregnant with potential, a dark womb waiting to birth light. Contrast that with Tracy K. Smith's My God, It's Full of Stars, where a black hole becomes a metaphor for grief. It is so quiet / nothing for light / to strike or bounce off. The science is precise, light can't escape, but the emotion is universal. Film and CGI have pushed this tension between accuracy and artistry to new extremes. Interstellar's Gargantua, rendered with physicist Kip Thorne's equations, is a triumph of scientific fidelity, its gravitational lensing so precise, the distortions birthed new academic papers. Yet director Christopher Nolan deliberately left the interior ambiguous, a tesseract of bookshelves and fractured time. Science tells us what's possible, Nolan said, but art tells us what it feels like. Compare that to Event Horizon's nightmare vision, where the void bleeds hellfire, or Doctor Who's whimsical take, with black holes as gateways to other dimensions. Each interpretation reveals less about astrophysics and more about human fears, of oblivion, of the unknown, of being unmade. This dance between fact and metaphor raises a provocative question. Can art explain what equations cannot? When musician Björk collaborated with scientists for her Biophilia album, she translated radio waves from a black hole into a throbbing bassline, the sound of spacetime tearing. It's not a textbook explanation, but it is a visceral one. Similarly, Yayoi Kusama's Infinity mirrored rooms, with their endless reflections vanishing into darkness, don't teach general relativity. Yet standing inside them, you grasp for a heartbeat, the terror and allure of an event horizon, the point of no return. Perhaps that's the power of black holes in art. They force us to stare into the incomprehensible and find meaning anyway. Scientists chart their mass and spin, poets name their hunger, painters mirror their distortion. Together, they remind us that some truths are too vast for equations alone. They need starlight and sonnets, algorithms and anguish, the cold precision of math and the wild leap of metaphor. And if black holes are the universe's unanswered questions, then supernova are its exclamation points, cataclysmic explosions that scatter the ingredients of life across the cosmos. From the Crab Nebula's eerie glow to the dying whispers of Betelgeuse, these stellar deaths have ignited creativity just as fiercely as they forge new elements. A supernova doesn't just destroy a star, it scatters the seeds of creation across the cosmos. In that final, cataclysmic moment, a dying star hurls its elements into the void, carbon for diamonds, oxygen for breath, iron for blood. Every atom in your body was forged in such an explosion, meaning we are literally made of stardust. No wonder cultures worldwide have seen supernova not as endings, but as cosmic rebirths. The tour people of the American Southwest tell of a blue star that erupted long ago, scattering its light across the sky, a supernova they believed carried the spirits of ancestors to new worlds. In Norse mythology, the fiery demise of the god Baldur was said to leave a glowing remnant in the heavens, a celestial ember still visible as the constellation Orion. Even the Japanese word for supernova, choshinsei, means guest star, reflecting ancient astronomers' awe at these sudden, brilliant visitors in the night sky. Artists have long been mesmerized by these stellar explosions, particularly the abstract expressionists who sought to capture raw cosmic energy on canvas. Jackson Pollock's swirling, chaotic drips in number 1 resemble the tangled filaments of the Crab Nebula, a supernova remnant first recorded by Chinese astronomers in 1054. Meanwhile, Georgia O'Keeffe's sky above clouds Roman 4 mirrors the radiant shockwaves of Cassiopeia A, its luminous layers expanding like petals from an unseen blast. These painters didn't just depict the cosmos, they channeled its violence and beauty, turning star death into a language of color and motion. Scientists, too, have framed supernova as cosmic poetry. Carl Sagan's famous "We are starstuff" line wasn't just lyrical, it was a revolution in perspective, linking our existence to the explosive deaths of distant suns. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson often describes supernova as universe makers, emphasizing how these explosions distribute the elements necessary for planets, oceans, and life itself. Even the term light echo, used to describe supernova remnants like SN 2006, carries a haunting resonance, as if the stars themselves are whispering across millennia. This duality of destruction and creation pulses through art history. The Renaissance allegory of the phoenix, reborn from its own ashes, finds its celestial counterpart in supernova. Contemporary sculptor Anish Kapoor's Swayam, a massive block of red wax slowly moving through doorways, leaves behind a residue echoing the way supernova stain space with new elements. And in the Sandman comics, Neil Gaiman personifies stars as living beings who sing as they die, their final notes seeding future galaxies. Nowhere is this cosmic cycle more tenderly explored than in children's literature. Oliver Jeffers' Here We Are simplifies the universe's vastness into a gentle lesson. The stars were made from tiny bits of stuff that came from other stars that exploded long before you were born. Likewise, The Stuff of Stars by Marion Dane Bauer weaves the science of supernova into a lyrical cradle song, where stardust becomes fingers, toes, and beating hearts. These stories don't just educate, they instill wonder, framing the universe as a shared home stitched together by ancient explosions. From ancestral myths to bedtime stories, supernova remind us that endings are rarely absolute. They scatter light where there was darkness, elements where there was void. And in that alchemy of destruction and renewal, artists and scientists alike find their most enduring muse, the universe's unshakable habit of turning death into beginnings. The Little Prince didn't just visit planets, he carried the cosmos in his pocket. When Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's boyish explorer tended his rose under asteroid B612, he wasn't just stargazing. He was teaching generations of children that wonder could fit in something as small as a sheep drawn inside a crate. This is the magic of cosmic themes in children's literature. They shrink the universe's vastness into bite-sized poetry, where black holes become gateways for curiosity and distant stars feel like friendly neighbors. Even the minimalist Goodnight Moon, with its quiet rhyme bidding farewell to a starlight, starbright crescent through the window, grounds the celestial in the cozy, wrapping infinity in a bedtime ritual. Illustrators play alchemists, turning complex astronomy into visual candy. Eric Carle's Papa, Please Get the Moon for Me folds lunar phases into a literal ladder-climbing adventure, the moon waxing and waning like a paper collage on a string. Oliver Jeffers' How to Catch a Star paints the cosmos with childlike whimsy, its protagonist fishing for a star with a net, only to discover one washed ashore like a seashell. These images do more than simplify, they transform gravity into a game, light years into a playground. But cosmic storytelling isn't just about wonder, it's a stealthy teacher of resilience. In The Darkest Dark, astronaut Chris Hadfield's childhood fear of the dark melts when he watches the Apollo moon landing, realizing space isn't emptiness but a frontier glittering with possibility. Similarly, Me Among the Stars reimagines Mee Jemison's childhood dream as a rocket ship built from library books and cardboard, proving stars aren't just distant specks but destinations waiting for stubborn hearts. These narratives whisper to young readers, the universe isn't too big for you. Modern children's books blend myth and science with joyful irreverence. The Girl Who Drank the Moon weaves starlight into a witch's magic potion, while The Snail and the Whale turns the Milky Way into a roadmap for tiny explorers. Even non-fiction like Star Stuff, a biography of Carl Sagan for preschoolers, frames supernova as cosmic chefs cooking up ingredients for life, the message. Science and magic aren't rivals, they're two languages for the same awe. So how do we keep this celestial curiosity burning? By handing kids telescopes disguised as fairy tales. By letting them trace constellations with sticky stars on bedroom ceilings or scribble alien planets with crayons. Most importantly, by remembering that every "Why is the sky blue?" is the first step toward a lifelong love affair with the cosmos. Which brings us to humanity's next great canvas, not just painting the stars, but reaching for them. From cave drawings of eclipses to blueprints for Mars colonies, art has always raced ahead of rockets, dreaming journeys before engines could follow. When Jules Verne sketched a cannon-fired spaceship in from the Earth to the Moon, he wasn't just fantasizing, he was drafting a challenge. Now, as artists and engineers collaborate on interstellar visions, the line between science fiction and mission plans blurs. What happens when creativity charts the course for actual spacefaring? That's where our gaze turns next. Jules Verne didn't just imagine a moon cannon, he fired the starting shot for a century of spaceflight dreams. When his 1865 novel From the Earth to the Moon depicted astronauts launched in a projectile, critics scoffed. Yet 80 years later, Werner von Braun admitted Verne's calculations, down to the aluminum capsule and Florida launch site, directly influenced early rocket designs. Artists have always been the uncredited architects of space exploration, drafting blueprints before engineers could sharpen their pencils. Consider Chesley Bonestell's mid-century paintings of Saturn's rings, so meticulously rendered they became reference images for NASA planetary scientists. Or the Soviet avant-garde posters of the 1930s, where cosmonauts in gleaming suits strode across constructivist starscapes, turning propaganda into prophecy. These weren't just fantasies, they were fuel for the collective imagination, proving that art doesn't just reflect progress, it accelerates it. The space race turned artistic vision into national identity. Soviet posters from the 1950s recast rockets as socialist arrows piercing the capitalist sky, their bold reds and geometric typography radiating utopian confidence. Meanwhile, American illustrators like Norman Rockwell painted Mercury astronauts as all-American heroes, clean-cut, humble, their silver suits reflecting apple pie ideals. Even Disney joined the fray, with von Braun himself scripting Man in Space episodes that made orbital physics family entertainment. The message was clear: space wasn't just a frontier, it was a canvas for ideological storytelling. Today, SpaceX's live streams echo that same theatricality, their Falcon Heavy launches framed like blockbuster premieres, complete with David Bowie soundtracks and camera drones orbiting flaming boosters. The rockets may be reusable, but the spectacle remains as carefully choreographed as any Soviet mural. Science fiction's predictive power borders on eerie. Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey didn't just envision tablet computers and AI voice assistants. It anticipated the psychological toll of isolation in zero gravity, a challenge ISS astronauts now combat with VR therapy. Chris Foss's 70s book covers, once dismissed as garish fantasy, depicted space freighters with solar sails now being tested by NASA, a light sail project. Even Star Trek's communicators feel quaint compared to today's smartphones, yet their underlying vision technology as a universal bridge remains startlingly prescient. What separates these works from mere speculation is their emotional precision. They understood that the future isn't just about gadgets, it's about how those gadgets reshape human connection. Contemporary artists continue drafting interstellar roadmaps. Simon Stalenhag's paintings of mundane suburbia dotted with alien megastructures ask, what if space travel became as routine as a school bus ride? Architectural firm Bjarke Ingels Group collaborates with NASA on Martian habitats that look less like sterile labs and more like terraced villages, their domes ribbed with gardens. These designs reject the cold utilitarianism of early sci-fi, prioritizing something radical, beauty, because surviving in space isn't enough, we'll need reasons to stay. This humanizing impulse stretches back further than spaceflight itself. Medieval illuminated manuscripts depicted angels floating in star-strewn heavens, their gold leaf halos mirroring the sun's corona. Tibetan Thangka paintings mapped spiritual enlightenment onto cosmic geography, with Buddha realms orbiting like planets. Even Renaissance altarpieces used lapis lazuli pigment ground from Afghan gemstones more precious than gold to paint the Virgin Mary's cloak as a celestial void. The message was universal: the divine lives in the infinite. Today, as astronauts describe the overview effect, that transcendent awe of seeing Earth from orbit, they echo mystics who've gazed skyward for millennia. The technology changes, but the yearning remains to touch the heavens and, in doing so, rediscover what makes us human. Now, consider how sacred geometry bridges the cosmic and the spiritual. From Islamic mosaics echoing fractal star patterns to Gothic cathedrals aligning solstice light with altars, architecture has long whispered that the heavens and holiness share a blueprint. When the James Webb Telescope beams back images of newborn stars in the Carina Nebula, their swirling pillars uncannily resemble 12th century depictions of Jacob's ladder. Perhaps art's greatest gift is revealing that the universe isn't just a void to cross, but a cathedral to inhabit, one where every atom sings with the same stardust that ignites both supernova and human souls. Gold leaf doesn't just shimmer, it sanctifies. Walk into Istanbul's Hagia Sophia, and you'll find its domes armored in thousands of tiny gold tiles, each one catching the light like a fragment of the sun itself. Byzantine artists didn't use gold for mere opulence. They believed its untarnishable glow was the closest earthly material to divine light. This wasn't decoration, it was theology in metal, a visual hymn to the idea that heaven's radiance could be trapped, however briefly, in human hands. Islamic art takes celestial geometry even further. Step into the Alhambra's Court of Lions, and your eyes follow tessellating stars carved into stucco, their infinite repeats mirroring the perfection of the cosmos. The Quran describes paradise as a garden beneath which rivers flow, but artisans translated this into patterns where floral motifs and interlocking stars create a visual rhythm as precise as planetary orbits. There's a reason these designs feel hypnotic. They're mathematical prayers, using symmetry to echo the universe's hidden order. Persian miniatures went further, painting prophets like Muhammad ascending through concentric rings of gold and lapis lazuli, each layer representing a celestial sphere closer to God. Hindu mandalas, meanwhile, turn the cosmos into meditation. The Sri Yantra, a labyrinth of interlocking triangles, isn't just art, it's a map of creation itself, with the central point symbolizing the Big Bang's singularity. Tibetan Buddhist mandalas take this further, with monks painstakingly sprinkling colored sand into intricate cosmic diagrams, only to destroy them in ritual, a reminder that even the universe is temporary. The parallels with modern astrophysics are uncanny. Both see the cosmos as a fleeting dance of energy and form. Sacred texts brim with celestial metaphors. The Bible's Book of Job asks, "Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades or loose the cords of Orion?" Framing constellations as divine jewelry, Hindu Vedas describe the sun as a golden-wheeled chariot crossing the sky, while the Quran calls the moon a lamp and stars missiles to strike the devils. These aren't just poetic flourishes, they're attempts to clothe the infinite in words. Even Dante's Paradiso reserves the Empyrean, the highest heaven, for pure light, where saints orbit God like planets around a sun. Modern artists still chase this celestial holiness. James Turrell's Skyspace's rooms with apertures framing the sky turn sunlight into sacrament, shifting hues as deliberate as stained glass. Anish Kapoor's Cloud Gate in Chicago reflects the heavens onto its mirrored surface, making the sky touchable. Meanwhile, digital installations like TeamLab's Universe of Fire translate supernova into interactive projections, where visitors' movements ripple through star fields. The tools have changed, but the quest remains, to trap a piece of the infinite where we can marvel at it. So is the cosmos the ultimate spiritual canvas? Perhaps the better question is, could it be anything else? From gold leaf halos to algorithmic star maps, humanity keeps returning to the heavens as a mirror for the divine, not because we've found answers there, but because its vastness makes room for all our questions. Now consider how this celestial yearning stitches itself into something unexpected: the clothes we wear. From astrologers' embroidered robes to runway designs that mimic nebulas, fashion has long been a portable planetarium, draping the cosmos over human shoulders. The stars aren't just above us, they are woven into the very fabric of how we present ourselves to the world. Alexander McQueen didn't just design clothes, he built wearable galaxies. His final collection before his death, Plato's Atlantis, sent models slithering down the runway in dresses printed with bioluminescent sea creatures and alien landscapes, their scales and swirls mirroring Hubble's images of nebulas. The hems seemed to dissolve into star clusters, as if the fabric itself was unraveling into cosmic dust. McQueen understood what ancient astrologers knew: the body is a canvas, and fashion is our most intimate way of carrying the cosmos with us. Dutch designer Iris van Herpen takes this further, stitching the universe's chaos into haute couture. Her magnetic motion collection used 3D printed filaments to mimic the arcs of charged particles in a magnetic field, each dress a frozen snapshot of celestial forces. For hypnosis, she laser-cut hundreds of metallic petals into garments that ripple like solar flares, their edges catching the light like the corona during an eclipse. Van Herpen's work isn't just inspired by astronomy, it translates astrophysics into texture, turning equations into something you can drape over your shoulders. Meanwhile, fast fashion has democratized the celestial trend. Galaxy print leggings, constellation-embroidered denim jackets, and Milky Way dyed scarves flood retailers, their swirling blues and purples echoing Van Gogh's Starry Night. Jewelers craft pendants with tiny meteorite fragments, their iron-nickel alloys forged in ancient supernovae. Even nail art gets cosmic, with manicurists layering holographic glitters to mimic asteroid belts or painting tiny black holes onto thumbnails. The message is clear: the universe isn't just overhead, it's a style statement. Runway shows amplify this with theatrical astronomy. Chanel's 2019 Meteor's Dart Show transformed Paris's Grand Palais into a planetarium, where models orbited a glowing central sun in tweed suits embroidered with gold constellations. Jean-Paul Gaultier's 2019 Couture collection featured rotating headpieces that cast shifting shadows like eclipses, while Thierry Mugler's 90s Cosmic line used fiber optic gowns that pulsed like distant quasars. These spectacles don't just borrow celestial imagery, they recreate its dynamism, letting fashion move with the same rhythm as the planets. Historically, astrology dictated dress codes. Renaissance nobles wore brocades woven with their zodiac signs, believing the embroidered stars would align their fates. Marie Antoinette's court astronomers designed her astrological robes with silk planets positioned according to her natal chart. In imperial China, emperors donned dragon robes stitched with the 12 celestial mansions, their authority literally threaded with cosmic order. Even Shakespeare's star-crossed lovers wore astrological motifs. Juliet's gowns likely bore crescent moons, a nod to Diana, goddess of the moon and chastity. Today, fashion's cosmic obsession speaks to something deeper than trends. When we slip on a nebula print dress or fasten a meteorite ring, we're not just accessorizing, we're asserting our place in the universe. Designers like Guo Pei frame this explicitly. Her courtyard collection draped models in gowns so heavily bejeweled, they seem to carry the weight of stardust itself. The irony is delicious. By wearing the cosmos, we make its vastness personal, even playful. A galaxy becomes a pocket universe, tailored to fit. Now, artificial intelligence is stitching itself into this celestial tapestry. Algorithms trained on NASA imagery generate fractal patterns for digital couture, while AI-powered looms weave textiles that shift color like auroras. Designer Anouk Wipprecht's space dress uses satellite data to illuminate in real time, its LEDs mirroring solar flares detected by orbiting telescopes. The line between cosmic inspiration and cosmic collaboration blurs. Soon, your jacket might not just depict the stars but respond to them. As we thread the needle between art and algorithm, one truth emerges: fashion, like the universe, is boundless. Whether through McQueen's apocalyptic nebulae or an AI's starlit algorithms, we keep finding new ways to wear the sky not as armor, but as a second skin, whispering that we belong to something grander. Algorithms don't just calculate, they dream in stardust. When researchers at NASA feed gravitational wave data into machine learning models, the outputs aren't just equations. They're rippling visualizations of colliding black holes, their violent mergers rendered in swirling golds and purples. These aren't sterile scientific diagrams, they pulse with an eerie beauty, as if the machine glimpsed the cosmic dance and tried to paint its heartbeat. AI art tools like Midjourney and DALL-E now generate entire nebulae from text prompts, their digital brushes blending hydrogen hues with the whimsy of a child's finger painting. But here's the paradox: while these images dazzle with fractal precision, they often lack the stumble of human hands, the shaky awe of Van Gogh's brushstrokes, or the smudged charcoal of Galileo's lunar sketches. Can code capture the ache of cosmic wonder? Poet Sarah Howe challenged an AI to write verse about the Orion Nebula. The result was grammatically flawless, brimming with words like luminous and infinite. Yet when compared to her own poem, the same stars that stitch the hunter's belt slash also mend the sails of the dead, the difference was stark, the AI described Howe witnessed. Still, some collaborations blur the lines. Artist Rafik Anadol trains neural networks on Hubble's raw data, then projects their interpretations onto buildings, fluid, living murals where gas clouds bloom and dissolve in real time. The AI isn't replacing artists, Anadol insists. It's giving us new eyes. Ethics orbit these creations like binary stars. When an AI-generated Rembrandt-style supernova sold at auction for $40,000, critics recoiled. Who owns the copyright when the artist is an algorithm? Can a machine infringe on the cultural legacy of, say, Aboriginal star myths? Scientists argue these tools democratize cosmic art. Anyone can conjure a galaxy with a keyword. But Navajo educator Lucian Lavin counters, our constellations aren't aesthetics, they're stories. Can algorithms comprehend sacred breath? Perhaps the answer lies in partnership. At CERN, physicists collaborate with AI artists to visualize quark collisions as symphonies of light, each subatomic ping translated into a note, building crescendos that echo through concert halls. Meanwhile, Google's Poem Portraits project lets users fuse their words with AI-generated cosmic verse, creating hybrid haikus that twinkle with human longing and machine randomness. The most haunting output, a line that read, "I am the void scribe slash writing with borrowed starlight slash in a language of dust. So can AI dream of stars?" Not yet, but it's learning to trace their shadows. And as these tools evolve, they're pushing us to redefine creativity itself. Is art about intention or impact? About the hand that holds the brush or the eye that wells up at the result? This tension between technology and transcendence finds unexpected harmony in land art, where creators sculpt deserts and shorelines into celestial tributes, using the earth itself as their canvas. From Nazca lines aligned with solstices to modern installations that turn tidal waves into lunar choreography, these works don't just depict the cosmos, they converse with it. James Turrell doesn't sculpt stone, he sculpts light itself. At his Rodin crater, an extinct volcano in Arizona transformed into a celestial observatory, visitors don't just see the sky, they feel its weight. Through precisely aligned tunnels and apertures, sunlight pools like liquid gold on curved walls, while moonbeams slice through darkness like cosmic scythes. Turrell's work collapses the distance between Earth and cosmos, turning a patch of desert into a lens for the universe. His skyspace's minimalist chambers open to the heavens frame the ever-shifting blue above as a living canvas, where clouds become brushstrokes and twilight gradients pulse like distant nebulae. This isn't just art, it's alchemy, transmuting Arizona's dust into a dialogue with the infinite. Land art has always whispered to the stars. The Nazca lines, those ancient geoglyphs etched into Peru's desert, align with solstice sunrises and the cyclical rise of the Pleiades, a sprawling celestial calendar carved into the earth. Modern creators echo this tradition. Olafur Eliasson's Ice Watch hauled melting Greenland glaciers into city squares, their crystalline forms mirroring distant ice caps on Europa or Pluto. As they dwindled under urban sunbeams, they became ticking clocks, counting down not just planetary climate collapse but the fragility of all icy worlds. Meanwhile, Agnes Dean's Wheatfield, a confrontation planted golden grain beneath Manhattan's skyscrapers, its rippling stalks echoing Van Gogh's Starry Night swirls, a reminder that even concrete jungles orbit the same cosmic rhythms as farmlands. Climate change art orbits around a brutal irony. Earth is both a unique lifeboat and just another speck in the void. When photographer Chris Jordan overlays gyres of ocean plastic onto Hubble's images of the Whirlpool Galaxy, he forces a jarring comparison. Our trash swirls with the same lethal elegance as stellar nurseries. Similarly, Justin Bryce Gariglia's After Ice project lasers climate data onto mirrored solar panels, their reflections fracturing like cracking glaciers, while their surfaces mimic the icy plains of Enceladus. These works don't just warn of ecological crisis, they frame it cosmically, asking, if we're poisoning the only habitable world we know, does that make us vandals of the universe? The pale blue dot vision, popularized by Carl Sagan's reflection on Voyager's 1990 Earth portrait, has become art's most humbling mantra. Artist Lillian Layen projected Sagan's words onto London's Tate Modern, the letters dissolving like comet tails over the Thames. In Overview Effect, a documentary spliced with astronaut testimonials, filmmakers juxtapose Earth's jewel-like fragility with the indifferent blackness around it, evoking what spacefarers describe as a transcendent shift in perspective. This duality, preciousness and insignificance, fuels projects like Fragile Planet, where glassblowers craft delicate orbs etched with satellite maps, each one shatterable as a soap bubble. Protest art weaponizes cosmic metaphors. At Standing Rock, activists projected the Milky Way onto oil pipeline construction sites, superimposing celestial vastness over corporate machinery, a visual scream that even energy empires are fleeting against galactic time. In Kiev during the 2022 invasion, artists lit blue and yellow constellations on bombed-out buildings, their makeshift stars defiant as supernova. And when Greta Thunberg sailed across the Atlantic, her sail bore a stylized solar system with Earth off-kilter, a graphic indictment of ecological imbalance. These works share a silent thesis. Injustice isn't just local, it's a disruption of cosmic order, a violation of the same laws that keep planets in their lanes and stars burning clean. From Turrell's light temples to guerrilla galaxy projections, environmental art proves one thing: to fight for Earth, we must first see it as the universe does, a glowing marble hung in darkness, teeming with stories only we can tell. A mural in Minneapolis blooms like a supernova, George Floyd's face cradled in a constellation of fists, each one clutching a star. The artist didn't just paint a protest, they drafted a cosmos where justice orbits like a planet, inevitable as gravity. When Black Lives Matter activists projected the Milky Way onto the walls of defunded police stations, they weren't decorating, they were rewriting the mythos. The stars, they whispered, have always belonged to the marginalized. Harriet Tubman navigated freedom flights by the North Star. Yoruba traditions mapped destinies in the belt of Orion. Now, street artists from Lagos to Los Angeles spray paint galaxies over bullet holes, turning scars into portals where grief becomes something vast enough to hold hope. Protest art weaponizes cosmic vastness to shrink oppression into temporary shadows. Take the Starlight Brigade murals in Hong Kong, where umbrellas, symbols of the pro-democracy movement, stretch into comet tails streaking toward a yellow sun. Or the Brianna's Galaxy installation in Louisville, where 26 suspended stars, one for each year of Breonna Taylor's life, pulse with LED light. Their glow synced to crowd chants during vigils. These works exploit astronomy's oldest trick, perspective, by framing police brutality or authoritarianism against the backdrop of infinity. They ask, how small must hatred seem to a nebula? Space advocacy movements harness this same celestial solidarity. The We Are the Universe campaign by indigenous climate activists overlays oil pipeline maps with Mayan star charts, proving extraction sites violate cosmic balance. Meanwhile, the Moon Gallery project, a tiny titanium cube destined for lunar orbit, holds 64 artworks, including a Palestinian artist's Telescope of Exile, etched with refugee camp coordinates visible only under starlight. Even NASA Artemis program, named for Apollo's twin sister, commissioned feminist murals at launch sites, their goddess figures wielding rocket ships like scepters. But can starry metaphors spark tangible change? Kenyan artist Wangechi Mutu's celestial bodies sculptures suggest yes. Her aluminum constellations, forged from bullet casings collected in conflict zones, hang in UN meeting rooms, a silent indictment that war debris could have been a spaceship. When teens in Rio's favelas fly kite cameras to photograph both Orion and police raids in the same frame, they're not just documenting, they're asserting that their streets too belong to the universe's story. Now listen closer. The cosmos doesn't just inspire visuals, it composes symphonies. From the eerie radio waves of Jupiter to the vibrational hum of colliding black holes, the universe thrums with soundscapes waiting to be heard. Just as protest art turns starlight into a rallying cry, these celestial frequencies are becoming the next frontier of cosmic creativity, a reminder that the heavens don't merely dazzle the eyes. They sing. The universe isn't silent, it's a symphony waiting to be heard. NASA sonification projects transform raw cosmic data into haunting melodies, turning black holes' gravitational waves into deep cello groans, or the solar winds ripple into a chorus of glass harmonica chimes. Take the Perseus galaxy cluster. Its pressure waves, once mere squiggles on a spectrogram, now pulse as an eerie bass line, vibrating at frequencies 57 octaves below middle C. These aren't just scientific novelties, they're bridges between logic and wonder, letting us hear a black hole's roar or the sun's surface crackling like cosmic static. When the Chandra X-ray Center released the Milky Way's core as a soundscape, its stars plinking like piano keys and nebula gases whooshing like breath through a didgeridoo, they revealed something profound. The cosmos composes in scales we're only beginning to decode. Composers have eavesdropped on celestial music for centuries. In 1617, Kepler penned Harmonious Mundi, calculating planetary orbits as geometric ratios that mirrored musical intervals. Fast forward to 2022, when Icelandic composer Hildur Guðnadóttir collaborated with NASA to translate the TRAPPIST-1 exoplanet system's orbital resonances into a minimalist string quartet, each planet's year becoming a looping motif, their gravitational dances syncopated into rhythm. Meanwhile, Terry Riley's sun rings, commissioned by NASA, Space Dust Research, weaves actual recordings of solar wind particles hitting spacecraft hulls into a cosmic concerto. The particles' tinny pings become percussion, their randomness sculpted into something between wind chimes and Morse code from the void. Indigenous soundscapes hold older wisdom. The Maori Purakau creation stories describe the Milky Way as Te Ika e Moi, its stars strung like a celestial fishing line humming with ancestral chants. Yolngu elders in Australia play the Yidaki didgeridoo to mimic the pulsations of the Coalsack Nebula, its drone echoing what they call the breath of the dream time. In West Africa, the Dogon people's Sigwi ceremony recreates Sirius B's 50-year orbit through drum patterns so precise, anthropologists suspect ancient astronomical observation. These traditions don't just soundtrack the cosmos, they converse with it, treating celestial bodies as collaborators rather than subjects. Yet silence, too, holds cosmic weight. John Cage's 4:33, 4 minutes and 33 seconds of intentional quiet was inspired by his visit to Harvard's Echoic Chamber, where he heard the sound of his own nervous system. Astronauts describe the silence of spacewalking as equally jarring, no air to carry sound, just the thump of blood in their ears. Artist Susan Phillips captured this in Solar Silence, an installation broadcasting ultra-low frequency solar oscillations normally inaudible to humans. Visitors experience them not as sound, but as vibrations trembling through their bones, a reminder that the universe's loudest truths often resonate beyond hearing. Now, AI is composing the next movement. Projects like AVA Artificial Intelligence virtual artists train algorithms on centuries of classical music and radio telescope data, generating symphonies where Jupiter's magnetosphere dictates tempo or a supernova's light curve shapes melody. In Oslo's planetarium, visitors don VR headsets to play asteroid belts like harps, their hand movements triggering notes from each rock's spectral data. The line between composer and cosmos blurs soon. We might not just interpret the universe's music, but jam along with it. As we stand on this threshold, one thing is clear: the stars have never stopped singing. We're just learning to listen in new keys through sonified data, ancestral instruments, or the hush between notes. And if history is any guide, the next great cosmic symphony won't come from a concert hall, but from the collision of silicon and stardust, algorithms and awe, reminding us that creativity, like the universe itself, keeps expanding. Mars won't just be a new world, it'll be humanity's blankest canvas. Imagine the first murals sprayed onto Martian regolith, their pigments mixed with iron oxide dust, turning the planet's rust into art supplies. Or sculptures forged from meteorite fragments, their metallic veins whispering of asteroid belt collisions. Colonies won't just need engineers and botanists, they'll crave poets to name the jagged valleys, painters to capture Phobos hurtling across the pink sky, filmmakers to document low-gravity ballets where dancers leap like slow-motion comets. Already, NASA, an artist-in-residence program, drafts concepts for Mars habitats with stained glass domes that fracture sunlight into prismatic constellations, blending utility with wonder. Virtual reality is already untethering creativity from Earth's gravity. Artists like Eliza McNitt craft VR experiences where users float inside nebulas, their hands pulling stardust into ephemeral sculptures that evaporate like cosmic mist. Meanwhile, projects like Space Explorers, the ISS Experience, stitch footage from astronaut cameras into immersive journeys, letting Earth-bound viewers somersault through cupolas with the Milky Way as their backdrop. But the next frontier lies in haptic feedback suits that simulate solar winds prickling your skin, or scent synthesizers releasing the burnt honey aroma of Titan's atmosphere. Soon, VR won't just show you the cosmos, it'll let you breathe it. Biotech artists are grafting the universe onto living tissue. Singapore-based collective Amino Labs engineers bacteria that glow with bioluminescence patterned after auroras, their petri dishes becoming miniature alien skies. Brazilian artist Eduardo Cac encoded a stanza of his poetry into DNA sequences, then blasted them into orbit aboard a cube sat literally turning verse into stardust. And at MIT's Meteor Lab, researchers grow living nebulae from mycelium networks, their branching filaments mirroring the cosmic web. These works erase the line between organism and cosmos, suggesting that creativity might one day bloom in petri dishes or encoded in synthetic meteorites. The most radical frontier, art made by non-humans. AI-generated constellations already adorn planetarium shows, their patterns trained on millennia of cultural star lore. Meanwhile, rovers like Perseverance compose algorithmic songs by translating seismic data into melodic motifs. What if future Martian drones improvise operas from dust storm frequencies? And when we finally encounter exoplanet landscapes, whether through telescopes or probes, their alien geology will demand entirely new aesthetics. How might a silicon-based life form sculpt with liquid methane? What hues would evolve under a binary star's dual shadows? This isn't just about new tools or frontiers. It's about rewriting creativity's DNA. When children on Mars sketch Earth as a pale blue dot in their homework, when VR poets compose odes to black holes they've visited, when bioengineers grow galleries from extremophile algae, art won't just reflect the cosmos. It will be cosmic, as native to the void as stardust. Yet for all these grand visions, the most profound shift might be internal. As space dissolves from abstraction into lived experience, cosmic art will become less about capturing wonder and more about processing it, a survival tool for minds stretched across light years. The same way Inuit bone maps guided generations through Arctic wastes, future art may help interstellar migrants navigate not just space, but the loneliness between stars. Now consider how this celestial renaissance begins not with rockets, but with a single sketchbook. Before any Mars colony or VR headset, there's the quiet act of a person tracing constellations on a bedroom ceiling or scribbling alien landscapes during a lunch break. The universe's next great masterpiece might start as a doodle on a napkin, proof that cosmic creativity isn't just about the frontiers we reach, but the boundless imagination we carry within. Stargazing isn't just about looking up, it's about learning to see with your whole imagination. To capture the cosmos in your art or writing, start by keeping a cosmic journal. This isn't just a notebook, it's a treasure chest for stolen moments of wonder. Jot down how the Pleiades shimmer like scattered salt on black velvet, or how the Milky Way arcs over your rooftop like a bridge to another world. Sketch the moon's craters as if they're fingerprints left by the universe. Over time, these fragments will become your personal constellation of inspiration, a map to guide you back to that feeling of wide-eyed awe when creativity feels stuck. Try this next time you spot a particularly bright star. Write it a letter. Tell Sirius how its blue-white glare reminds you of childhood winters, or ask Betelgeuse if it's nervous about going supernova. These playful prompts aren't just exercises, they're bridges between logic and lyricism, training your mind to weave cosmic phenomena into intimate metaphors. When poet Muriel Rukeyser wrote, "The universe is made of stories, not atoms," she was hinting at this alchemy. The stars don't care about your deadlines or doubts, and that's precisely why they're the perfect muses, patient, endless, and indifferent to perfection. City lights might drown out the stars, but don't let that stop you. Apps like Star Walk or Skyview turn your phone into a pocket planetarium, overlaying constellations on your screen as you point it skyward. Use them to identify Venus glowing above a subway station, or trace Orion's belt between skyscrapers. Urban artists have turned these digital tools into secret weapons. One Brooklyn painter projects app-guided star maps onto her studio wall, using them as underlays for murals where celestial patterns merge with graffiti tags. Light pollution can't erase the cosmos, it just forces you to chase it more creatively. Now, step beyond the screen. Astronomy clubs are full of amateur scientists who'd love to share their telescopes and their passion. Attend a public star party at a local observatory where you'll peer through lenses at Saturn's rings or Jupiter's stormy stripes. Bring your sketchbook. The way an astronomer explains sunspots or nebula formations might spark a poem or a painting you'd never conjure alone. When ceramicist Lola Gonzalez partnered with her campus astrophysics department, she learned to mix glazes mimicking the mineral hues of Martian soil, her bowls cradling the texture of another world. Collaboration doesn't just expand your knowledge, it melts the boundary between observer and creator. Here's the secret: you don't need a degree or a high-powered telescope to make art that channels the cosmos. Start small, press your palm against frosty glass on a winter night, then trace the condensation into a spiral galaxy. Collect twigs after a storm and arrange them into Cassiopeia on your kitchen table. Record the sound of wind chimes during a meteor shower. Their random notes might become the rhythm of a space-inspired song. The universe isn't just out there. It's in the way coffee swirls in your mug like a gaseous nebula, or how shattered car glass on pavement mirrors the scatter of a star cluster. As you gather these fragments, journal entries, app screenshots, sketches from telescope viewings, you're not just collecting inspiration, you're building a lexicon of wonder, a vocabulary to translate celestial grandeur into something human-sized and heartfelt. The stars have been whispering to artists for millennia, and now they're whispering to you. All you have to do is look up, and then, with hands or words or paint, reach back. The cosmos doesn't just inspire art, it lives inside it. Every swirl of Van Gogh's Starry Night, every trembling haiku about the moon, every child's finger tracing Orion's belt for the first time, they're all part of the same eternal dance between human imagination and the heavens. Think of it like this: when Galileo first turned his telescope toward Jupiter's moons, he wasn't just collecting data. He was unlocking a new language of wonder, one that poets would later weave into sonnets and painters would translate onto canvas. The same cosmic forces that sculpt nebulas and guide comets also flicker through our creativity, as unstoppable as gravity. Consider how deeply this connection runs. The ancient Lascaux cave paintings, daubed 17,000 years ago, include star maps beside charging bison, proof that even then, humans saw the night sky as both calendar and storybook. Fast forward to today, where a teenager in Tokyo photographs the Perseid meteor shower with her phone, then layers the streaks of light into digital art shared globally. The tools change, but the impulse remains: to reach beyond ourselves, to collaborate with the universe's grandeur. This isn't just about beauty, it's about dialogue. When Emily Dickinson wrote, "The brain is wider than the sky," she wasn't exaggerating. She was describing the way creativity mirrors cosmic vastness, how a single mind can hold both the crushing weight of infinity and the delicate glow of a firefly. Science gives us the equations for eclipses. Art gives us the chills down our spines when the sun vanishes. One without the other is like a telescope with no one to peer through it. So here's your invitation. Tonight, step outside. Let your eyes adjust to the dark. Maybe you'll spot Mars, rusty as an old penny, or the Pleiades clustered like spilled sugar. Sketch what you see, even if it's just a doodle. Hum a tune to the rhythm of the crickets, imagining it's the pulse of a distant quasar. The universe has been waiting for this conversation. Your turn to whisper back. And when you do, share it. Drop your stargazing stories in the comments, or tag that photo of the moon you couldn't stop staring at. Because creativity isn't a solo act, it's a constellation, each of us adding our own light to the pattern. The stars have been telling stories for billions of years. Now it's your turn to